Have you ever walked into a room feeling completely fine and walked out feeling like a completely different person? Maybe drained, anxious, or heavy with no idea why. Maybe you leave a dinner with a friend buzzing with anxiety that you didn't have when you arrived, or you scroll through the news for 10 minutes and carry the weight of it for the rest of the day. Or you avoid social situations altogether because they simply feel like too much. If any of this sounds familiar, chances are you are an empath or a highly sensitive person, someone who senses other people's energy and takes it on as your own. For years, this was me. I didn't have the language for it at the time, but I was absorbing everything. Everyone's stress, sadness, unspoken pain, and I had zero tools to protect myself from it. Being an empath felt less like a gift and more like a curse I couldn't turn off. It took me years of studying yogic practices, energy healing, working with healers, and honestly, burning out more times than I would like to admit to finally learn that my sensitivity wasn't the problem. My lack of structure around it was the problem. Today, we're getting into the do's and don'ts of living life as an empath because this is something I wish someone had walked me through a long time ago. Welcome back to Lately with Lexi, where I help wellness brands grow and spiritual seekers evolve. Every episode explores spiritual wisdom, business building, or personal reflections from my life. Come hang out as I share what I'm creating, learning, and navigating as a yogi, business consultant, healer, and entrepreneur. Make sure you subscribe on Substack to never miss an episode. Now let's get into it. Here's what I believe. Your sensitivity is not something that needs fixing. It is something to steward. The problem is nobody teaches us how to do that. Most of us figure it out the hard way through years of wondering why we feel everything so deeply when everyone else seems fine. I have been practicing yoga and energy work for over a decade now, and the single biggest shift for me as an empath, it wasn't learning how to feel less. It was learning how to process my feelings without staying attached to those feelings. Think of it as emotional hygiene. The same way that you brush your teeth or wash your face at the end of the day, your energy needs that same kind of care. Especially if you're someone like me on the spiritual path, or if you're building a life outside of the traditional status quo. Because when you're forging your own path, you already feel things like doubt, loneliness, and the weight of being misunderstood. Add unmanaged sensitivity on top of that, and it's a recipe for burnout. Think of it like this: the better we care for ourselves and protect our energy, the brighter we can shine our light into the world. And I think we can all agree the world needs more light workers now more than ever. So today I'm walking you through what I've learned, starting with the patterns that quietly drain you and the ones I had to unlearn myself. And then we'll get into specific practices that can actually help you step into being an empowered and embodied empath. Let's start with what not to do. As an empath, you do not want to become an emotional dumping ground, which is really easy to do. This is probably the most common trap I see empaths fall into, and it's the one that drained me the most before I recognized the pattern. Because when we feel deeply and we listen well, empaths tend to attract people who need to unload. And on the surface, that might feel like connection. It feels like you're helping. And it feels like this is what you're here to do. But there's a difference between holding space for someone and becoming their emotional landfill. And here's how you know you've crossed the line. You might have people in your life who only call when they're in crisis. Your conversations are almost entirely one-sided. They talk and you absorb. You find yourself constantly rescuing, problem solving, or carrying someone else's emotional weight long after the conversation is over. I used to think that this is just what being a good friend looked like, but it's not. Compassion does not mean carrying everyone else's pain. You can love someone deeply and still say, I don't have the capacity for this right now. You can be kind and still protect your energy. Those two things are not in conflict. And here's the part that might be uncomfortable to hear. Sometimes the most empathetic thing you can do is not hold space. Sometimes the most loving thing is to let someone sit with their own feelings instead of taking it on for them. That's how you empower people instead of creating dependence. This connects directly to the second don't, because this one is going to take this a step deeper. Don't confuse empathy with responsibility. This is the one that kept me stuck for years. I would feel someone suffering, a friend, a client, sometimes a complete stranger, and immediately feel like it was my job to fix it, to help heal them, to help make them feel better. And that's not empathy. That's a savior complex wearing empathy's clothing. And I say that with compassion because I know how real it feels when you can sense exactly what someone is going through, what that urge is like to step in and solve it for them. It can be overwhelming. It feels wrong not to help them. But here's what I've learned. Your role as an empath is not to save. It's to witness, to support, to hold space. And there is a difference between the two. When you try to fix someone's pain, you rob them from their own growth. You take on energy that was never meant for you. And then what can happen is you completely deplete yourself in the process, which means you have less to give to the people and the work that actually need you. Think of it like this. A lighthouse doesn't swim out to save every ship. It stands firm and shines its light. The ship finds their own way. Be that lighthouse. Your sensitivity allows you to see people, to really, really see them. That is the gift. But seeing someone clearly and carrying their burden for them are two very different things. One is empathy, and the other is self-abandonment. So the next time you feel that pull to fix or rescue, pause and ask yourself, am I being asked to hold space, or am I volunteering to carrying something that isn't mine? That distinction will protect your energy almost more than anything else I can teach you. And third, do not ignore your physical signals. Your body is always talking to you. And as empaths, we tend to feel misalignment in the body before the mind ever catches up. So we got to tune into those signals. You know, that sudden wave of fatigue that hits you out of nowhere, or the tightness in your stomach before a conversation that you've been dreading, a headache that shows up after spending time with a certain person, or emotional heaviness that settles in for almost no apparent reason. Those aren't random. Those are data points. Your body is communicating with you. It is always communicating the truth and what you need to pay attention to. Personally, for years, I ignored these signals. I would push through fatigue. I would explain away low back pain. I would chalk it up as, something unavoidable. I would do anything to avoid the real underlying messages, which was usually communicating to me that something in my environment was off that I needed to take responsibility for in order to shift. This ties all the way back to episode 22, where I shared a little bit about my health journey. The ovarian cyst, the back injury, the years of overriding all of my body's signals because I didn't know how to listen. That pattern didn't just apply to my physical health, it applied to my energetic health too. And I would even go as far as saying that's where it all started. So here's what I want you to practice. Start treating your physical sensations as information rather than inconveniences to ignore. When something shows up in your body, especially suddenly, get curious. Don't judge it. Don't push through it. Just ask, what is my body trying to tell me right now? The more you honor those signals, the louder and clearer your intuition becomes. And the faster you can course correct before you're fully drained. And lastly, don't isolate completely. I saved this one for last because I think it's the one most empaths are resistant to hearing. When the world feels like too much, and if you're an empath, it will. The instinct is to withdraw, to cancel plans, to stay home, to build a cocoon and hide in it. And look, I get it. I have done it many times after Nashville, after leaving France, during every major transition that I have navigated. And trust me, there has been a lot. There were seasons where I pulled back from almost everything and everyone because being around other people felt like too much to hold. Now, listen, sometimes that is exactly what you need, a period of rest, of solitude, of letting your system reset. But there is a fine line between restorative solitude and avoidance. When you cross that line, isolation stops protecting you and starts shrinking you. The goal isn't to avoid feeling, the goal is selective connection. That means finding friendships that feel safe, Not the ones where you leave feeling drained, but the ones where you feel seen and nourished. It means seeking out conversations that are meaningful instead of performative. It means choosing environments and community that feel supportive rather than forcing yourself into ones that just don't. Healthy empaths stay engaged with the world around them. They just get intentional about how. For me, that is connecting to my priestess community and friendships, also my local yoga community. These are the spaces where I always feel the most inspired and I never feel drained after it. Find those communities for yourself. And if you're not sure where to find that, please reach out to me directly. I would love to point you in the right direction of finding a community where you feel like yourself. And look, if you've been pulling back, I'm not here to shame you for it, but I am here to gently say, don't let your sensitivity become a reason to hide. The world needs your light, and the right people and spaces will never ask you to dim it. Now, the four things I just shared are all about what it is that we need to unlearn as empaths, but knowing what to stop doing is only half of it. You also need practices that actively protect and restore your energy. That's what we're going to dive into now. Here are four things that you can do to live more empowered and embodied as an empath. First, you want to treat your nervous system like your primary instrument. Here's what I mean by that. Your nervous system is the thing that allows you to feel, intuit, create, and connect. And if you're not taking care of it, everything else in your life might feel a little bit harder. Empaths don't just emotionally relate to other people's experiences, we also absorb them through nervous system resonance, meaning your body is literally picking up on the energy all around you. So the tension in someone else's voice, the grief underneath a friend's smile, the heaviness in a room after an argument, none of these things that you sense or feel is a flaw. This is your system doing exactly what it's designed to do. But if you don't have practices that help you regulate and discharge that energy, it can accumulate. And over time, it starts to feel like your own. This is why so many empaths walk around feeling anxious or exhausted and can't pinpoint why. It's not always your anxiety or your depression, but your body doesn't know the difference unless you teach it. Now, the practices that help me regulate the best are also the most simple. Breath work such as humming or the bee breath or opposite nostril breathing. Also, any form of meditation, time in nature, and honest to God, alone time to decompress. Not scrolling on the couch alone time, but real solitude, the kind where your system can actually settle. Sometimes it is as simple as baking cookies. I'm serious. This is something that can really relax your nervous system. Essentially, anything that brings you back into your body and into the present moment and out of the emotional field you've been swimming in, that can help restore and regulate your nervous system. And when your nervous system is regulated, something really beautiful happens. Your intuition starts to become way more clear. Instead of reacting to every feeling that moves through you, you can actually discern what's yours and what isn't. And that discernment is everything. This brings me to the second thing that you can do. And honestly, this is one that changes the game. Practice energetic boundaries. Now, this one sounds obvious for most empaths, but we forget it. And I'm someone who spent years not setting boundaries whatsoever. We want to be mindful that we're not confusing feeling something with being responsible for it. Let me say that again. Feeling someone's pain does not mean that it belongs to you or that you have to solve it. One of the simple tools I use and I come back to constantly is a mental check-in, where I notice a shift in my energy. I pause and ask myself, is this mine or is this someone else's? Now, that one question has saved me more times than I can count. Energetic boundaries also look like practical everyday choices, limiting your exposure to chaotic or draining people, keeping social interactions shorter when you need to, and leaving environments that feel heavy instead of pushing through it and pretending that you're fine. Also, even setting screen time limits or even deleting social media from your phone altogether. These things can all really help protect your energy. Empaths who don't learn how to set these energetic boundaries can burn out. I've seen it. I have been there before. You give and absorb until there's nothing left. And then you wonder why you are exhausted, resentful, or completely shut down. And here's the thing about boundaries, they are not walls, they are filters. They let love and connection through while also protecting you from carrying what was never yours to carry. Now, boundaries protect you in the moment, but what about the inputs you're choosing to let into your field every single day? That's number three. You have to protect your energy inputs. This one is huge. I talk about it a lot because I think we underestimate it. As empaths, we are deeply affected by what we consume. And I don't just mean food, I mean everything. Social media, the news, conversations, the energy of the environments that we put ourselves in. We feel all of those things very, very deeply. And every single one of those inputs shapes your internal state. And if you're not paying attention to what you're absorbing, you're letting the world dictate how you feel. I had to get really honest with myself about this. There was a season where I was doom scrolling the news every morning and wondered why I felt the weight of the world was on my shoulders before noon. It's because I wasn't carrying my own energy, I was also carrying everybody else's in the news. So I started paying attention. I started unfollowing accounts that left me feeling drained or anxious. I stopped watching the news first thing in the morning. I got more intentional about the conversations I was having and whether they were filling me up or depleting me. Now, this isn't about building a bubble or avoiding reality. It's about recognizing that your energy is a resource and you get to choose what you spend it on. Think about it like this. You wouldn't eat something that made you feel sick every single day and not expect it to affect your health. Your emotional and energetic intake works the exact same way. Be protective with what you let in. Your sensitivity is a gift, but it means that inputs matter more than they do for most people. And finally, even with boundaries and intentional inputs, empaths still accumulate emotional residue throughout the day. That's just part of being wired this way. And this is why the fourth and final thing to do as an empath is so important. This is also my favorite one. We want to create daily energetic resets. Think of this as washing off the emotional dust from the day. Even when you're doing everything right, you're regulating your nervous system, you're practicing boundaries, protecting your inputs, you're still going to pick up things, and that's not your fault. It's not failure. That's just what it means to be sensitive. The key is having a reset practice that you can come back to daily. I have a couple different ones that I love and I do periodically throughout the week that I'll share. The first is taking an auric cleansing bath. This is as simple as 2 cups of Epsom salt, 1 cup of apple cider vinegar, and it sounds simple, but there's real wisdom behind this. Salt has been used for centuries across cultures for purification and energetic cleansing. It helps to clear your aura and your electromagnetic field, and I try to do this at least once a week, especially after really emotionally draining days. Another practice I love in the mornings, if I ever wake up feeling less than ideal, is a cold shower. Think about the different elements and what are you most drawn to? Me, I'm a Cancer. I love all things water. That's why salt baths and cold showers are 2 of my favorite practices. But what does that look like for you? Maybe you are someone who's drawn to the earth and you experience a lot of benefits from grounding, putting your feet in the earth and getting outside, being next to a tree, touching a tree. When you put your feet on the earth, you are literally discharging energy that you've been carrying, and it helps to reconnect you to the earth's natural electromagnetic frequency. Even 5 minutes of this is so cleansing. And if you can't take a bath or get outside, visualization also works very powerfully, and it doesn't have to take very long. You can simply close your eyes for a minute or 2 and just imagine releasing everything that you've taken on from that day. You can visualize gray smoke just pulling down and out through the bottoms of your feet and back into the earth. You can also call upon your guides, maybe Archangel Michael, to help facilitate this cleansing and alchemizing of energy, releasing anything and everything that does not serve you. Personally, I like to call upon Archangel Gabriel to place an energetic shield around my auric field to protect me and allow only energy of the highest vibration of love to enter my field. You can also set an intention or say a prayer before any of these practices. Something as simple as I cut away all low vibrational frequencies and energetic cords that have attached to me. I release everything that is not mine. I reclaim my space and energy now. And so it is. That act of conscious intention is, in and of itself, a form of energetic protection. The point is, find your own version of this. It doesn't have to look like mine or any of these that I've shared. You just want to find a practice that is a non negotiable to help reset your energy so that you're not carrying yesterday's energy into tomorrow and so on. So, my invitation for you is to choose one energetic reset practice that you can commit to daily for the next 7 days. Try it out and see how you feel 1 week from now. Chances are you're going to want to continue these practices regularly because of how much they help. All right, so we covered a lot in today's episode. So here's what I want you to walk away with. First, your sensitivity is a superpower. Being an empath doesn't mean you have to absorb everyone's energy around you. It means you have to get intentional about how you move through it. Second, recognize the patterns that drain you. Don't allow yourself to fall victim to being an emotional dumping ground. Don't confuse empathy with responsibility. Listen to your body when it's telling you something is off. And if you've been isolating, just ask yourself whether this is rest or avoidance. And third, build the practices that soothe, protect, and expand you. Treat your nervous system like a primary instrument. Practice energetic boundaries. And remember, feeling something doesn't mean that it belongs to you. Be protective of what you consume and create a daily reset so you're not carrying yesterday's energy or emotions into today. And just know that when you have the tools to regulate and protect your energy, your intuition sharpens. Your spiritual connection to God, and in this case, God as your greater being, will deepen. And you can show up more fully for the people and the work that you care about most without losing yourself in the process. This is how to call your power back as an empath so that you can live sovereign and free. Thank you for listening to Lately with Lexi. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. You can leave a comment below, write a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps me to reach more people who need to hear this. And if you're an empath who wants to build your own energetic practices and learn how to work with your sensitivity instead of against it, I offer one-on-one intuitive readings and energy healing sessions. The links to work with me are in the show notes below. I'll see you next week.